Okay, this is pretty self-explanatory. Just the most insane, most powerful, most hacks abilities in Kengan Ashura. First, of course, Chiba, while it may not seem that hacks or may not seem that powerful, especially if you actually check how it's made, which he actually does it by rehearsing quite a lot, and he can't, copy Rita's razor and all that. Just being able to perfectly trace somebody's ability depending on how much you've seen them, and it's still quite strong, even though most people do have a secret technique or two, like Cosmo Zone or Fang with his 100 different styles. By the way, they're not ranked in any particular order. Fang, of course, would make it since he isn't even copying, he just takes somebody else's ability and learns it in a few seconds, which is much faster than Chiba's, and then just makes it himself. Well, he can't, also copy people's physical abilities like Kuroki's hand lance or Rita's razor. This is still the closest to a perfected form of Chiba's. There's nothing really even. There's no big weakness, no trade-off for it. Because, well, the trade-off is actually that he knows too many moves, but Chiba will eventually have come to that. And in all honesty, there's so much more advantages to this. That is, of course, what Hatsuki's superhuman skin, which it made him so powerful that nobody except for Julius could really touch him. And even then, Julius, his ability to roids past everything else is sort of also a super ability in a way. I feel like Otatsuki's just really too OP, even in this Purgatory tournament now. It really just gave him too much of a head start against everybody else. Rito's razor, another ability that was spawned that he had genetically, that just gave him too much power, I would say. These two, they'd just be put in the first top 1% of the most powerful just because of their abilities. Rina also, her ability was, I'm pretty sure everybody really knows what it is, except maybe if you came from the anime, but she can control any person, any guy, just by telling them what to do. Apparently it only works once, but it seems to work basically forever. So I don't think anybody's really able to beat her quickly. Oh, the pains of having a slow laptop here. Another thing I'd like to point out is Oma's sleep training, because while everybody sort of skipped on that, the fact that he can train any opponent while sleeping gives him an extra 8 hours on everybody. Seriously, imagine the Fang training his opponent for 8 hours in his head. I mean, they wouldn't include the hidden styles that they were using, but it'd still be very powerful. There's no really other CEO except for probably Yamashita, who has the eyes, which even then they aren't really that OP in a way, I guess. I mean, I'm pretty sure the fighters can also see on that level, except when, Cosmo and them during Omega now, they also got sort of screwed over. Sao Pang's skull is an ability that was quite insane though. Since he got hit as a child, his skull became much tougher than anybody else's, and sort of became the perfect skull, the perfect defensive ability. It takes quite a long time. Yeah, his head has now become tougher than steel. While it's not anywhere on the level of Watatsuki's skin, it's still much tougher than most other people. Adam's trunk is a worthy ability, but not that great. Akoya worked for his ability, so I don't think you count. Yuhei's ability is good, but I wouldn't really put it. Hajime built his own ability, so I don't think it would count. There's not really that many other people who are that powerful. Kaneda's foresight was good, but even then he has to watch them multiple times over. The Fang's adaptation, of course, evolution, it's quite obvious. Most of the other fighters are quite boring. The career clans removal, I'm not going to count because all the career clan members have it, so it's not really one specific ability for one person. Nobody here has any special ability. I mean, you can't really count him being blind since that was sort of weakness. Jun's ability doesn't really have one. That's all, I guess. I found it really just cool how these abilities, especially how the author made Megara and Tajime, because generally, especially with the only other show that I know that brought it up was Bucky, and even then talked about it once, that being that endomorphins boost them to superhuman levels. Other than that, nobody really talks about that, which is the chemicals in our brain are quite interesting, at least I think. So it's cool to see that Kengan brought it up. I think a lot of people also like that, as it did bring some of the best fights in the first round, with Megara and Hajime being some of the favorite fights. I mean, at least I know it's much more favorite. Maybe people more like it than Oma's fight, which sort of sucked in the first round. Nobody really cared about Hinaba. I'll try to be posting daily from now on. I'll stop being lazy. This video was sponsored by me not being lazy anymore. And of course, the most powerful ability of all, Kuroki Gensai's foresight or motionlessness. Of course, he managed to stop a bullet from point blank. It's quite an amazing ability. With this, he managed to easily defeat Rei. Once he got used to his abilities, it helped him fight against Vegito. Vegito also had this. Omar had this in a form. He was all the top 3 had this ability in a way, and majority of the strongest had this. Hatsumi had this in a way. Cosmo had this also. I'm not going to count Koya in the top 10. Q in a way had this. It was just slowing down how he anticipated things. But even then, this ability to become some of the strongest, even if you have this and no other skills, you'll be able to make it. Which, you can see with Kaneda, he had no physical abilities yet. He managed to defeat some of the strongest in the world. So you can count on him. So if you have this ability, yeah, this is easily the top. Except for Oma's ability of dream training. I didn't count the advance or removal and all that stuff, because with that it takes 1,000 years to practice, and with the case of the advanced Fallen Demon, Cosmo and Oma used it less than 10 times and they're already stuffed. I mean, both of them did come from horrible backgrounds which did screw them over, and mentally, but even then, the amount of physical damage that they've taken from those 2 techniques, they won't be living long. Many people say that Oma's 28 then. I think he was more in the 26s, but I'm going to tell you something. He won't be able to make it to 40 unless the author pulls some bullshit about him being perfectly fine, because that technique screwed him over hardcore, and it wasn't just his heart. You were seeing hallucinations on Nico. That's in the mind. You were screwed over much more. You don't get vomiting blood. You don't vomit blood just from your heart. You don't cry blood just from your heart. That's something much worse than just that. Just the heart. And with Fallen Demon, he had every problem there was. So yeah, he's screwed. They're both screwed.